Okay, so one of the cool things about SolidWorks is we're allowed to use parametric modeling techniques. And that's basically the model contains both geometric and specific numerical properties. So we can sit there and make tables of parts, we can do equations and whatnot. So let's take a look at the first one. We're going to do a molded flange. So we're going to play around with drafting. And so what drafting is when you make a molded part, it has to be kind of tilted inward a little bit, so that way it can come out of the mold. Okay, so let's start our guy. We're going to start here on the front plane, and we're going to just do a extrude. So I'm going to start off with my circle. I'm going to start here at the origin. Actually, I need to pick the origin properly. And I'm going to pull it out there, and it's blue. We need to fully constrained. We'll slap down a dimension on that, and it's going to be 6 inches. And so when we get done with that, it's all dimensioned, and now take a look at that there. Exit the sketch, go into features, and it pops up. And so we're going to bring this out blind 1.5 inches. And so there we go. We'll hit OK, and so we'll have our nice little flat thing there. And so we'll run from there. You know, I took a look at the numbers. That 1.5 seemed kind of thick, so that is wrong. We're going to right click on Boss. We're going to go to Edit Feature, and I want it to be 1/4 inch thick. So we'll go back and just change that. It's wonderful how you can have everything go. So now what we want to do is we're going to want to extrude up to a plane for our next part. So I'm going to put in a reference plane. And so we'll go here to Reference Geometry, Reference Plane. I want to base it off the front axis. And I'm going to move this one 1.5 inches off the back surface. And then we'll hit OK. So now I've got my plane there. And so let's draw this next one. We're actually going to draw a feature starting on this plane. And since I've already selected it, it defaulted to it. So we'll draw a circle once again based on the origin. We want that to be fully constrained, so we'll put our dimension in there, make that 2.2 inches, and we'll say OK. And then I want to exit the sketch. Drops me right into the tool for extruding. I want it to go the other way. But this time, instead of telling it to go blind, I'm going to go up to surface, and then I'm going to select, I want it to go until it hits that surface there, and it's going to take it right back to that face. It'll merge them together. Why do I do that? Well, it's just another way of controlling the way you do models, especially as you get more complex stuff. You may want to tie it to this plane so you can just move the plane and everything kind of moves with it from there. Okay, so I did that. Let's go back and look at that command a little bit. So I did it up to surface. The other one that you can do is just go up to next, and it'll do the exact same thing because it hits that surface and goes, oh, there's the next place I gotta go. Sorry, I had to cough there. So it just takes it up to the next surface, and it's just another way to put it. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to put a hole through this entire thing. So instead of going into the extrude, we're going to go into a cut. And so I'm going to pick that surface there. And we're going to cut ourselves a hole right through this entire part. Once again, that's blue. We need to get it to black so it is all fully constrained. And so we're going to drop a 1.8 inch hole through it. And we'll exit the sketch. And then what we're going to do is we're going to tell it, we're just going to blow through we'll say through all, so that'll blow through the entire material. So now I have a hole that goes completely through the material. Okay, at this point, let's take a look at it. We're going to do this right here as a section view. And what a section view does is allows you to cut in the part and take a look at it. And so we'll display that section. Oh, and I clicked on the wrong one. Oh no. So let's undo that section view. We'll just unclick there and it goes away. We'll try again. We'll say section view. And there we go, top plane. We'll look at the right plane and hit OK. So now we can look. The part isn't actually cut, but we can take a look at it in this. Now, why would I want to do this? Well, sometimes it's easier to take a look at things and grab them. But we can look at it and see what's going on. Now let's go, and I talked about draft. Let's go put some draft in. We'll go back to this boss extrude step. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the draft on here, and we can tell it by number of degrees. So we're going to make it 3 degrees. Now it's drafting inward, which is not what we want, so we'll tell it to draft outward. And so now that is something that looks like it would slip out of a mold. Hit enter. Now I've still got it in the whole category of cut view, so I can still see it. Now, of course, as I look at it, I did this whole, I need some draft on that hole too. So let's go back here, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add in 3 degrees of draft, and we want it to go the same way, drafting outwards, and we'll hit OK. And so there, now we can see that we've got that draft, that little bit of angling there, so the thing will slip in and out of my mold. So we're good to go on that. Now we don't get sharp leading edges out of a mold, so let's go and stick some fillets in there. So the first thing I'm going to do is let's get rid of that section view. So there we go. We're not looking at that anymore. And we're going to take this edge, I'm going to hit Control and hit this edge up here, so that gives me my 2 edges, and then I'm going to fillet that. We're going to have both those edges of the same fillet, and we're going to make them 1/8 of an inch, 0.125, and hit OK. We'll do our surfacing command and put the fillets in there. And so let's put another one in here, and we'll make this one 1/4 of an inch, and then hit OK. And so now we've got our filleted areas there. So I'm going to go and I'm just going to hide this plane here, just because it keeps getting in the way and we do not need to see it. And so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put in the ribs on the flange. And so these ribs are going to put on in an interesting way. So what I want to do is I want to go to the top plane, and we are going to sketch on the top plane. And then let's look right down on the top plane. We'll use the normal 2, so we can look right down on the top plane. And so what we're going to do is we are going to create some sketches from the edges. So we're going to grab parts of the silhouette. So we're going to want to be able to turn those into regular lines. So what I'm going to do is, instead of keeping it in my shaded one, I'm going to go here with wireframe with the hidden lines, so I can see where the hole is. And we are still in our sketching tool. And so we're going to go and we are going to see how that highlights there with that fillet, and that's the little cylinder with the round thing through it. That is catching the silhouette of the thing. So that's what we're seeing in that edge. So we're going to hold Control, and we're going to grab all these silhouettes here, because I'm going to want to blend into those. And I think that'll be everything that we need. We'll come up here to Convert Entities, and we're going to hit Convert Entities, and what does it do? It slaps down curves. Now notice, not only do we have the curves there, but they are all going to be black. They're all grounded because they are hit up against everything else. So what I want to do, because I do want to blend my ribs into this, I'm going to draw a line that's tangent. Now I want to make sure that I'm not picking up the coincidency there. I want it on there, and I'm going to bring it down to this one here. Once again, I'm going to make it coincident, but not on the midpoint. So see that right there? The first symbol on the left is coincident. The second one is tangency, which is fine, because we're going to need that anyway. And there we go. It's all black, because you notice we did the same thing up here, coincident and tangency. So that is fully constrained, which is great. But now we need to clean this up a little bit, because I can't extrude anything out from there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim entities. And this allows me to get rid of parts of lines. And so we'll use trim to closest. So it's basically, it's like up here, I want to get rid of this part here because I'm not going to be able to take care of it. So I click and it just gets rid of that. We'll come here and I've got this line here. We'll click and that gets rid of that. And then over here, we'll do the same thing. The other one, I like using power trim. It just goes, oh, there's an intersection there. You just go right through it and it clicks. Okay, notice now that I've cleaned all that away, I have the cross section lights up. Because that's basically telling me that, hey, I've got a closed section that I can do stuff on. Okay, so we got our trim done. So what are we going to do is we're going to make an extrude. So we're going to cancel out of that and we're going to go to features and we're going to do a boss extrude. Now we're going to do something a little bit different here because we're going to take it from the sketch plane. We're not going to do blind, we're going to do mid plane. So that allows us to do things in the middle. And so it goes either way, equal distance. So we'll go 1/8 of an inch. And then I'm going to hit OK. Uh-oh, unable to create because it would result in a 0 thickness geometry. Oh, that's a problem. So I need to figure out what I did wrong. Okay, so I looked at it a couple seconds and I kind of figured out what I did wrong because the way that this is put together, especially sitting right here on these tangencies and stuff, when that pops out, when I actually model it up, I'm going to have this point that's going to come outside of my surface, and it's just going to be a point sitting there, and we can't have that. So anytime that you see that you have a 0 feature geometry, it just means that you've got some point or some line or some surface that's not coming up. So what we're going to do is we are going to edit our sketch a little bit. And the way that we're going to do that is I'm going to get rid of this part where I use the fillets in there. And so let's draw some new lines. I'm going to take it from that point. I'm going to bring it over here. I'm just going to draw it wherever, and I'll fix it here in a second, to that point there. So I've just taken 2 lines, connected those 2 points. Now notice they are blue. That's not good. They're not constrained. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw a horizontal in here. Notice how that's black now because it's all fully constrained. I'm going to throw a vertical in here. And that's great. So now I have those 2 points and everything should be fine. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my trim command. I'm going to use power trim now, and I'm going to get rid of these lines that I had going right on the surface because I don't need those anymore. Where did that get? Notice how the shaded area went away because I kind of screwed things up right now. But that's okay. We'll fix it here as we're taking out lines. And there we go. So now we have that, but now we're no longer fully constrained. So I kind of messed that up. Let's see, can I work that backwards? Okay, so we're going to go back. I'll fix this here in a second in the next video. We're running a little long on this one, but we'll take care of it.